great day. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
I did not pay attention in class at all today. Oh my god, I'm in such a manic state right now. This is literally crazy. So basically this is midterms week, or it's starting for me. My first midterm is tomorrow. To be honest, I'm like falling behind. I'm looking like a mess right now. I'm trying to be a good influence for you guys and be like, yeah, study, do your midterms, XYZ, but really this is the reality of it. Students are like a fucking mess. But yeah, I swear I'm a good student. I do just get overwhelmed and stressed sometimes by the amount of work I know I have to do. And today is one of those days where I have so much stuff to do that in class I was just extremely distracted by everything else that had to be done. But yeah, this is the reality of college. Midterms, stress, mental breakdowns, and scatterbrain, which has led to this manic state. I'm gonna show you guys how I prep for midterms, and hopefully this will be a very productive week. Okay, I have class in 5 minutes, so I'm gonna go, and then afterwards we'll do some studying. I just found out my finance midterm and my strategy midterm, they were supposed to be released on Friday and going to be due that day, but they both got moved to Monday. So that's super exciting. I have time this weekend to prep, even though both of those are open notes. But my tax midterm is tomorrow. That's definitely gonna be the heavy lift for this week, but I really have to push through because I'm only halfway done with studying the content that I have to do. Throughout this video, I'm kind of going to give you guys some of my study tips and what I have found works for me after being in college and university for 4 years, but I will just lay those out, I guess, throughout the video. Today, I guess the one thing I will talk about is find the right amount of exam prep time. I feel like I phrased that badly, but basically you should find out how many days is comfortable for you to prepare for an exam. For me personally, I only take 2 days to prep. So if my exam's on Wednesday, I prep Monday, Tuesday, and then take the exam Wednesday. For me, that's what works. I have friends who like to study for like a whole week or 2 weeks. You kind of just want to figure out what works best for you. If it's a lot of material or a final exam that's cumulative, I'll take 3 to 4 days to study because that makes me feel better about everything. I don't feel like I have to study for 12 hours a day, but really it's whatever makes you feel comfortable and something you kind of have to test out with yourself. This is something I've kind of been doing since high school. 2 days always just really works well for me. I think everything's really fresh in my brain. Again, totally up to you and your discretion, whatever makes you feel comfortable. But it's 3:30 now, and I think for the rest of the day and night, I'm gonna study because I really need to get through all this material. And then I will catch up with you guys tomorrow when I'm finishing up my studying. Okay, it is Wednesday, the day of my tax exam. So I woke up and I was just studying a little bit. I have found that studying in the morning for me is the most productive. Definitely like one of my tips is just to figure out what time of the day works best for you to study. I know for me it's like mid-morning to mid-afternoon, but I have friends who study from midnight to 3 a.m. and that is like the best time for them to study. I could never. I would fall asleep because I just don't stay up that late. I don't know, everyone's brain works in different ways and has different times when they can really get into the flow of the material. So I definitely recommend experimenting and finding out what's best for you. Personally, I don't even like to do work after dinner because it gets harder for me to focus. But of course, I'm kind of breaking that rule this week because I need the time to go over the material. Going with that, I think just finding a stride and sticking to it. There are times when you want to study, or at least that's what I found for me, and those are the times I'm most productive, or getting myself to start is hard, but then I'll get into a flow of the material and then I don't want to stop. And I think those are really important to take advantage of. You can like kind of feel it coming on, like you start getting really honed in on the information, you don't get distracted so easily, and you're really invested in what you're doing. That's a good way to just like follow your instincts and go with the material and study. And to get rid of some distractions, you know, I turn my phone on Do Not Disturb. I will like physically tuck it and hide it away. So my phone usually like sits on my desk, but I will like take my phone, and I have this like little like folds on my duvet, and I will like literally take my phone and I will tuck it underneath here so I don't even see it, and that way it like can't distract me. And yes, I could theoretically just go in and get it. I've also given it to my roommates before, and I can't even get it without asking them for it, but this has helped me just because out of sight, out of mind, and it's a lot easier than seeing it on my desk all the time when all my study material is on my desk. The other thing I usually do is I make note of what I need to review and study while I'm studying, if that makes sense, because there's so much material sometimes it's easy to get confused and not remember what you're supposed to go over again. So for example, if I'm going over something really difficult and I can't understand it the first time, I'll make a note to go back to that point and review it because it was something that was hard for me to grasp, versus other material might be easier and like a single pass through it could be good enough to gain enough knowledge for the exam. But I'll usually do something like this. I'll say like what I need to review, and then I'll like list the chapters and different problem sets that I need to go back and revisit and look at. And this has helped me a lot because sometimes it'll be like, oh, there was a problem or a homework problem that I didn't understand that well, but I can't remember what it is. And I don't know, you don't want to be left struggling thinking about that. That's kind of a waste of time. So it's easy to just write it all down and have it ready so you know what to reference later when you're doing your final pass through your notes and anything you need to refresh yourself on right before the exam. Speaking of that, I am actually going to go and review all these things because I have a couple hours before my exam and I have to make a little cheat sheet. We're allowed like an 8.5 by 11 page paper of writing and notes for this exam. So I'm going to review my material and make that real quick, and then I'm gonna take my exam. As much as, you know, tax is kind of boring, even though I am an accounting major, it is really useful. For this exam, I have to fill out an actual tax return. Super complicated, like kind of intimidating because I straight up don't know how to do my own taxes. I do them on TurboTax. I actually do kind of find it interesting when I get into the flow of things, but that's besides the point. I'm gonna finish studying and take this exam. I can't wait for it to be over with. I don't know how that went. I'm so confused. All the questions being asked were super conceptual and really detailed. For part B, that's when I had to do the tax return. So I only had half an hour to do part B. I don't know if I did it right or if I did it well, but I was just talking to Jess about it. She's not in this class, but she knows I had my midterm today. And so I was telling her like half an hour, I feel like that's so short. In the real world, if I were doing my tax return, I would need way more than half an hour to do it. And Jess was like, yeah, in half an hour, I would probably like call my accountant and ask them like what I should be doing. And I was just like, well, that's me. Like I'm the accountant. I am supposed to know what I'm doing. So yeah, we were just like laughing about that. I'm not a tax accountant, so I feel like I don't have all the answers to this, but you know, you live and you learn. So I've kind of been pushing off the work for my other classes to focus on studying for tax, but now I have 3 homework assignments due tonight for finance. I hope it doesn't take me all night. I think they should be okay. And I think to celebrate, Jess and I are gonna order something for dinner because I need to treat myself. But at least the sunset's nice. Wow.
Miranda. Yeah? Can you hear me? Yeah? We're ordering takeout.
Do you want dinner?
TBD, but wait, I'll be out in like 2 minutes.
Okay. Oh my goodness. It's like 9 o'clock now and I'm just wrapping up my homework. Since my midterms got pushed to Monday for strategy and finance, I think tomorrow I'm just gonna do more prep work for the weekend because I don't want to do so much on the weekend. I want to relax more. So if I can get ahead of the curve tomorrow and Friday, that's gonna be my goal. Catch up with you guys tomorrow. Okay. It's Monday. I didn't really film over this weekend. I like took a break because I feel like it's much easier and better for you guys if I just tell you all the tips I have and you do what you will with that information as you're going through your midterms, your finals, or preparing for college in general. So I'm just gonna give you guys my last couple of tips before I take my last 2 exams today. So another point I was gonna make is that it's really important, in my opinion, to like ask your professor clarifying questions. You should try to get as much information as you can about the exam before you even take it. So like if you can ask the professor, how many questions is it going to be? Is it multiple choice, true and false, fill in the blank, essay based? You know, what's the time constraint on it? Do I only have this day? Do I have a week to do it? Everything with Zoom now is so flexible that there's a lot of versatility in the way that professors are giving and administering all their exams. So I think it's important to have all that information because it can change the way that you prep and study for your exam. So if it's multiple choice, maybe you want to just recognize the facts and not memorize, but if it's essay based, you have to memorize everything. And then, you know, if it's open notes, familiarize yourself with the material. You don't have to memorize if you can just like Command F or look at your notes if you have them in paper. In regard to open notes exams, I'm not a person who really hand takes a lot of notes. I think I type a lot faster during class, so it makes sense. One of the best tips I could probably give you about open notes exams is try to combine everything. So if you use PowerPoint and there's a PowerPoint for every chapter, copy all those slides and throw them in one PowerPoint and do like exam 1 master slide deck. Because that way, if it's open notes and you Command F, you can find like your keyword in all the chapters at once, and it's just like a lot easier to see the information across all the chapters versus trying to find what chapter and then searching the word and like wasting time doing it that way. If you have like outlines, you can combine all your Word docs or have a system where you label everything. On my computer now, I have this post-it where I've labeled what every chapter is. So when I take my finance exam today, which is open notes, I know like what chapter I need to go to in regard to what topic. Even though most of my PowerPoints now have been combined, still this is like a good little table of contents reference for when I take my exams. That has saved me a significant amount of time when things are open notes. So like leading into my next point about that, I think it's important after you have all that information to find the study method that works the best for you in relation to that test. Like the way I study for a business test is different than the way I studied for like an English test in high school. So it can really change depending on the subject and the format of the exam. I know a lot of people like to rewatch lectures now that everything's recorded on Zoom. You can do practice problems from the textbook. I know other people that prefer to study in groups. I think it's kind of distracting, but if you don't understand the material well, it's important to have friends who could clarify. I have a really weird method of studying. I will do a reenactment of how I study. For a lot of my classes, business class, we do like a lot of PowerPoints, and that's how I learn my information is through lectures. But I'll get something like this, PowerPoint slide decks on this page, and I'll have notes on the side, right? This is what I look like when I study, like PowerPoints. I just stare. Like that is how I study. For me, it just like really works. I don't think I have a photographic memory. Maybe it's like semi-photographic, I guess, in that sense. But I could like tell you like, oh yeah, that information is on like the top left slide of that page. Obviously that's like a very niche way of studying. A lot of my friends have called me out and been like, that's really weird. And I know it is, it's not normal, but sometimes that can be difficult. It takes like a lot of concentration. So the other way that I'll study is I'll write everything down. So like that's what I did for my tax midterm. I just wrote like back-to-back pages of notes to like summarize all of these chapters, but it is super time consuming. I do think it's nice to have everything in one place as opposed to like all of these slides that I had to study. But yeah, find what study method works for you. I know everyone's very different in the way that they learn and comprehend information. And of course the subject is gonna play into how you prepare for your exam. Another thing I would say is just like set interim deadlines. I've found that's really helpful for me to just stay on task for my studying so I don't procrastinate. So if it's like, oh, my goal today is to get through chapters 1 through 4 and then tomorrow do chapters 5 through 8. On the day of the exam, I'm just gonna read everything once through. You know, like that can be good. If you have like a longer term plan, you can spread it out even more. But doing that helps you kind of stay on track. I just think it's nice to have benchmarks and like a mental checklist or physically if you want to write it out too. Other random things that I have found that help me: fuel your body right when you're studying for exams. Maybe it seems like there's no correlation, but I've found that like when I eat healthier foods and more clean foods during the time periods I'm studying, my brain's a lot more focused and I can retain a lot more information better, faster, and like quality wise. So you don't want to eat things that like make you feel lousy and like tired. Going off of that, like getting good sleep. I know some people who are like, oh yeah, like all-nighters, I'll take the exam at like 4 a.m. if it's open for 24 hours, like all that stuff. I don't advocate for that because I think that sleeping is super important for memory, and I've heard that if you sleep, you retain information a lot better and your memory is better. So if you get a good night's rest after you study, it'll actually help you the following days to retain that information. And then another thing I would say is like, don't drink alcohol. And like, I know that's hard. You're in college, your exam's on Monday, you want to party on Saturday, and like totally fine. Maybe recognize how your body reacts to that, because I've heard and I've found that if I drink alcohol before an exam, not like the day of, maybe like the day before, I don't retain as much information clearly, or like maybe I'm groggier because alcohol affects your sleep quality, so it could be that. And then, you know, live your best life after it's over. And just like, you know, take care of yourself, take breaks during studying. Don't force yourself to like do a 4-hour study session with no breaks. I think just like being aware of what you need to do well in exams is super important. Play around with it, notice your body, be conscious of what's going on mentally, and like don't stress so much. I know that midterms and finals are super stressful, but I think being in my senior spring, I've really realized like how unimportant grades are, if that makes sense. Like, don't get me wrong, I've done really well in my opinion over my college career, but grades are so arbitrary and they don't mean anything. They might feel like everything right now, but in 20 years they don't mean anything, you know? Like, no one's asking for your GPA, your job in 10 years, even 5 years. It's like, just enjoy it, try to get the most out of it. I try to approach it as like, I actually want to learn, not that I want to get an A. I have satisfaction in knowing that I understand the information, and the A is just like a byproduct of that. I think that's like everything I have to say about my tips and exam stuff. Good luck during midterms, finals. If you're prepping for college, I hope this helped you. I will see you guys in my next video, and I will try to make more advice Northeastern college related videos. I've been seeing in the comments a couple people have been asking about it, and I think that now that I'm wrapping up my college career, it's like a good idea to reflect and like give you guys whatever knowledge I can share about it. So more videos to come, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.